Hi, I'm Norm Coleman, used to say former Democrat, former senator from Minnesota. I represented, as mayor of St. Paul, she was about 80% Democrat, okay, 80% Democrat, and I managed to carry that by lowering taxes, by cutting bureaucracy, by focusing on the most important thing you can focus on. As a mayor, people say to me, Mayor, what are you doing for kids today? I said, the best thing I can do for a kid today is make sure mom and dad has an opportunity for a job. Okay? Governor Romney understands that. President Obama, in first year, spent when he had a veto-proof majority in the Senate, filibuster-proof, veto-proof majority in the House. He could have done anything to the Hispanic community. He made La Promesa, promised to do something about immigration, did nothing. Did nothing. Promised to do something about jobs and spent almost 2 years working on Obamacare. And what do we get? $1 trillion more in debt, $500 billion more in taxes. You know, in 2008, people voted for change. For change. They wanted to change Washington. They didn't want to change America. And what did we get? We got $16 trillion in debt that's going to $20 trillion. It's a $51,000 tax on each and every child, each and every American. We got government control of health care and sucking $700 billion out of Medicare to pay for Obamacare. Right. To pay for Obamacare. What did we get? We had, for those of us who care about Israel, it has always been, the bond between Israel and the United States has always been unbreakable. No space. President Obama comes in office and talks about creating space between the U.S. and Israel. And space we got. On the campaign trail, he talked about Jerusalem was the undivided capital of Israel. He said that one day at an AIPAC meeting. The next day, the pressure from the Palestinians, he took it back. And a couple of weeks ago, his press secretary couldn't even tell you what was the capital of Jerusalem. Ask the question, what's the capital of Jerusalem? My 9-year-old nephew knows the capital of Jerusalem. I think my 6-year-old niece knows the capital of Israel. Excuse me, it's Jerusalem. Right. And Romney understands that President Obama can't even say it. What did we get on the greatest threat that Israel faces, Iran, getting a nuclear weapon? The President came in office saying he wanted to reach out to the mullahs. By the way, so he also wanted to reach out and would talk on Castro and Chavez. Yeah. He did get something out of the Chavez reaching out. Chavez did say he would vote for him, right? He did say that. That vote could count in Chicago, but it's not going to count here. But what did he get? What did he get? Israel. Right now, Israel faces the greatest threat that it's ever faced. It's existential. Bibi Netanyahu cannot allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Cannot allow. By the way, we can't allow it. The world can't allow it. Iran gets a nuclear weapon. The Saudis are going to buy one. Yeah, the Egyptians will get one, and none of us, whether we're here in Florida, whether we're in cold St. Paul. Okay, none of us will sleep soundly at night. The president, when he had a chance, when there was the sense of perhaps some uprising in Iran, the people rallied. They stood on the streets, and that young girl, Netta, that little girl, laying died, bleeding on the streets. And the president of the United States wouldn't utter one word of support to the people who were fighting in this. Not one word. He didn't want to offend the mullahs. You know, if you ever talked to Nathan Sharansky, who was in the Gulag, and he finally escaped and went to Israel. I'll tell you that when Ronald Reagan said, tear down that wall, that in that cold place, the hearts were filled with warmth. There was finally a sense of joy because America had spoken out. I got to tell you just the opposite in Iran. When this president wouldn't utter a word. So now the Iranians have thousands more centrifuges. They're upgrading their nuclear enrichment. The president, talks about sanctions. Well, the reality is, the sanctions are important, and by the way, they're critical. Mitt Romney, what he wants is he wants to settle this diplomatically, but you do that when your enemies think there's credibility in your threats. Okay, that's right. Strength. By the way, another bipartisan tradition. John Kennedy understood the importance of strength. Ronald Reagan understood the importance of strength. The only two presidents in my lifetime that didn't understand the importance of strength were Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama. Sanctions, the president is good at criticizing others, and he's great at taking credit for the things that he didn't do. Israel, by the way, I have to tell you, I celebrate the fact that the military relationship between Israel and the United States is as strong today as it's ever been, stronger than ever been. But that, by the way, came about as a 2007 agreement negotiated by President Bush and the Israelis. The president has carried through with it. Thank you for doing what you're supposed to do. On sanctions, the president opposed the tough sanctions on the Bank of Iran. He opposed them. Guyton wrote a letter opposing this, but Congress, bipartisan, by the way, Democrats and Republicans, stood up and said, we got to put pressure on the Iranians because we can't let them get a nuclear bomb. And so they went through against administration opposition. So that's not the kind of change that America wanted. My friend Sid has heard me say this, by the way, 1,000 times. One of my favorite quotes is Maimonides, the Jewish 12th century Jewish philosopher, teacher, rabbi, who once said, each of us should view ourselves as if the world were held in balance, and any single act of goodness on our part could tip the scales. My friends, the world is held in balance, and what you do on Tuesday will decide which way the tails are skipped. We're here in Florida. Well, it's really nice to be in a place where your vote counts. Now let me tell you, there's a poll that has Minnesota within a couple of points. We're tied in Pennsylvania. It's about tied in Ohio, tied now in Michigan. Your vote's counting all over the country because folks want real change. They want Mitt Romney. They want to grow jobs again in this country. That's what they want. But again, the world is held in balance because America's held in balance. It's going to be America, Mitt Romney's vision, where it's an opportunity society, where every child can be the very best they can be, kind of grab for the American dream. Or are we going to become an entitlement society? 47 million people on food stamps, more people on welfare than ever before, greater number of women in poverty than ever before. Are we going to be an America in which we are energy independent? Mitt Romney's vision will have Keystone Pipeline. Mitt Romney is president. By the way, I don't want to take too much time because I'm here with America's man, but I just have to say one story because I'm in Florida. I took a helicopter ride not too long ago, 85 miles off the coast of Haifa, Israel, and I went onto an oil rig. Oil rig, about 300 folks working there. They found natural gas at 5,000 feet. It's called the Leviathan Field. It's one of the greatest natural gas resources now on Earth. What stunned me is that the workers on that rig, off the coast of Haifa, of Israel, they were from Florida, they were from Alabama, they were from Mississippi. They used to work in the Gulf and no more, and no more. We got to put them back to work here in America. Okay, we got to put Mitt Romney's. My friends, truly, as you go about doing what you're doing, understand how much we need you. Somebody once said, a leader without followers is just a guy taking a walk. Mitt Romney needs you. Okay? Connie Mack needs you. Adam Haslam needs you. Alan West needs you. We need you. We can't do it without you. It's in your hands. I am the poster child for close elections, okay? Someday remember, I won my election on election night, okay? In spite of the fact that Acorn registered 43,000 voters in Minnesota 2008. I won when the machines were all recounted, and 9 months later, when absentee ballots came in that weren't counted on election night, I lose to Al Franken by 300 votes. Okay? My plea to you is don't let it be close. Okay? Florida can make the difference. Florida is going to lead the way. I look forward to coming back here early and often. Early and